Let me tell you something that'll disrupt your entire perspective. You are not who you think you are. You are who you've been trained to believe you are. From the moment you were born with infinite value, not potential, value. But life, school, society, maybe even family, they trained you to believe that value had to be earned through degrees, jobs, or other people's approval. That's the first lie. Killer, your value isn't created, it's activated. It was already there. Your job is not to chase worth, but to express it. The reason you haven't seen massive results yet is not because you're not worthy, but because you haven't owned your value. Listen carefully. You will never out-earn, outbuild, or outperform your own self-image. If you see yourself as average, guess what? You'll create a life that matches that image. And the most dangerous thing in the world is a powerful person trapped in a small identity. So here's the question. What image of yourself have you been serving? Some of you are working hard, but sabotaging yourself mentally. Every time success knocks, you hesitate. Every time opportunity shows up, you second guess. Why? Because deep down, you don't see yourself as someone who wins. You see yourself as someone who tries. And I'm here to break that off you forever. Let me tell you this straight. You don't need permission to rise. Nobody is coming to crown you. You've got to crown yourself. People will try to convince you that playing small is being humble. No, playing small is being disobedient to your assignment. Playing small is betrayal of the gift you've been given. There is nothing humble about shrinking. And here's a truth most people can't handle. Your environment is lying to you. If everyone around you is content with mediocrity, they will treat your ambition like it's rebellion. When you start building, they'll say you're too obsessed. When you start winning, they'll say you've changed. You were supposed to change. You were supposed to outgrow average. You were supposed to break the mold. You were supposed to leave the comfort zone and enter your creation zone. Your new life begins when you take radical ownership. No more blaming your past. No more waiting on the right time. No more playing safe. The second you decide that everything in your life is your responsibility, that's the second you get access to unlimited power to change it. So now it's your turn. You are not average. You are not broken. You are not waiting to be chosen. You are powerful. You are valuable. You are already enough. Now act like it. Because the world doesn't need another copy. The world needs you, the real you. You were born with value. You just forgot how to use it. Most people walk through life acting like they're waiting to be discovered, waiting for someone to tap them on the shoulder and say, now you're valuable. Now you're enough. But let me be absolutely clear. You were born with value, not after your degree, not when you hit 6 figures, not when you lose 20 pounds or finally get the recognition you think you deserve. You had value the moment you took your first breath. The tragedy, somewhere along the way, you forgot how to use it. You were conditioned to believe that your worth is determined by your environment, that it's measured by your resume, your title, your income, your popularity. But those are all external validators. None of them touch the internal truth of who you really are. See, we live in a world where people mistake visibility for value. Just because someone is loud, known, or trending doesn't mean they're valuable. And just because you feel hidden doesn't mean you're not. Gold doesn't lose its value just because it's buried. Let's be real. Life has a way of beating the greatness out of people. You show up with curiosity, fire, and vision, but life throws disappointment at you. Rejection, failure. People tell you you're not enough. Systems tell you to stay in line. The world teaches you how to shrink, how to second guess, how to forget. And little by little, you stop seeing yourself as a creator and you start seeing yourself as a consumer. But here's the truth they never taught you in school. Your value isn't based on your current circumstances. It's based on your ability to solve problems. Read that again. The market doesn't reward effort. It rewards solutions. And you are designed to solve problems. That's what gives you leverage in this life. When you understand this, everything shifts. Your self-worth is no longer tied to your paycheck. It's tied to your creativity, your resourcefulness, your ability to identify a need and meet it with excellence. Let me ask you something. What's the one thing you do effortlessly that other people struggle with? That thing. Whether it's strategy, storytelling, negotiation, design, listening, teaching, building, organizing, is your internal currency. That's your value. And the more you develop it, the more valuable you become, not just in your own eyes, but in the eyes of the world. But here's the catch. You have to believe it first. Because nobody pays you based on what you're worth. They pay you based on what you believe you're worth. And most people are undercharging for their time, their ideas, their energy, because they haven't remembered who they really are. Let me flip the script for you. You're not here to fit in. You're here to stand out. You're not here to play the same game everyone else is playing. You're here to create your own game. The moment you stop trying to prove your worth is the moment you start walking in it. You've got to reclaim your power, reclaim your voice, reclaim your identity. Stop outsourcing your confidence to the opinions of people who haven't built what you're called to build. Stop asking for permission to be who you already are. You've got something inside you the world hasn't seen yet, and it's not going to come out while you're pretending to be average. Understand this. Value is not about noise. It's about impact. You don't have to be everywhere. You just have to be effective where you are. Solve a real problem, serve real people, deliver real transformation. And when you start doing that consistently, you become unforgettable. So the next time you feel invisible, the next time you feel behind, the next time you feel like your time hasn't come yet, remember this, your value doesn't need to be created. It needs to be claimed. You were born with value. You just forgot how to use it. Now it's time to remember, and not just remember, but build from it. Because the world needs what only you can give. Your self-image sets the ceiling for your life. You will never outperform your own beliefs about yourself. If you think small, you act small, and you get small results. Success doesn't start in your bank account. It doesn't start in your business, your job title, or your connections. It starts in your mind. Everything you're experiencing in life right now is a direct reflection of what you believe you're worthy of. Let that hit you. If your life feels small, tight, or stuck, it's because your self-image is limiting your capacity. Here's what they don't tell you. You cannot build a life that exceeds the picture you hold of yourself in your own mind. That's why people who win, win again. And people who lose often stay stuck in a cycle of self-sabotage. Because success will never rise above the level of your identity. If you see yourself as average, you will build average. If you see yourself as just a doer, not a leader, you'll take orders for the rest of your life. If you see yourself as someone who always falls short, your actions will always subconsciously align with that belief. Let's get real. This is not about positive thinking. This is about power thinking. It's about upgrading the operating system that controls every decision you make, every risk you take, every move you hesitate to take. Here's a brutal truth. You act according to who you think you are, not who you really are. And most people have no idea how small their identity actually is. They were raised being told, you're not smart, you're not capable, you're not leader material, and now they carry those labels like facts. But those weren't facts, they were projections, and you built your life within the limitations of someone else's insecurities. That ends now. The minute you shift your identity, you shift your life. Because your actions will always match your self-image. If you see yourself as powerful, you make powerful decisions. If you see yourself as valuable, you don't settle for anything less. If you see yourself as a creator, you stop consuming and start building. You can change your job. You can change your city. You can even change your circle. But if you don't change your self-image, you'll keep reliving the same patterns in different places. You don't need a better plan. You need a better picture of yourself. Think about an internal thermostat. If your self-image is set at 70 degrees and you try to crank your life up to 90, start a business, make more money, build influence, guess what happens? You'll sabotage, stall, or shrink back because your internal setting pulls you right back to where you're comfortable. The solution? Reset the thermostat. Start conditioning yourself to see a new version of you, the one who's decisive, bold, creative, wealthy, the one who doesn't wait for permission, validation, or the right time, the one who walks into rooms with quiet power because they know who they are. And this isn't about arrogance, it's about accuracy. It's about finally seeing yourself through the lens of possibility instead of limitation. Here's a question for you. What would your life look like if you stopped thinking small, if you stopped asking, can I really do this, and started asking, who do I have to become to do this? Because once you raise the image, the actions follow. Once you raise the image, the standards change. Once you raise the image, the results start to match your potential. Your business can't outgrow you. Your impact can't outrun you. Your legacy can't be bigger than what you believe you deserve. Change the image. Change the outcomes. You are not stuck. You are not broken. You're just operating on an outdated version of yourself. So raise the image, elevate the belief, upgrade the identity. Because your next level isn't waiting on more hustle. It's waiting on a new vision of you. You don't need permission to level up. Stop waiting for someone to validate your greatness. Your potential isn't up for public opinion. Here's the truth. Most people never realize until it's too late. You're wasting precious time waiting for validation that will never come. You're waiting for someone to say, when you're good enough, you deserve more. But let me ask you, who gave them that authority over your life? Since when did your future require a cosigner? Most people stay stuck, not because they lack potential, but because they're addicted to permission. Permission from parents, from friends, from bosses, from the internet. They don't move until someone else approves. And that mindset, it's a cage, a silent prison dressed up as humility. Here's the truth. You don't need permission to level up. You don't need applause to grow. But you don't need agreement to evolve. Because your greatness isn't up for a vote. And your potential was never meant to be a public discussion. Let me say it plain. Your future is not a community project. Stop trying to crowdsource confidence. Stop asking people who haven't built anything if you're doing it right. Stop waiting for someone to crown you before you step into the role you were born for. You were not made to be managed. You were made to lead. You were not made to comply. You were made to create. The problem is you're still carrying the voice of someone who told you to stay in line, and that voice became your inner critic. Every time you feel ready to rise, that voice whispers, what do you think you are? But what if you fail? What will they say? Let me answer it for you. You are someone who has every right to rise. You are someone who will grow by doing, not by doubting. And they are irrelevant because they don't have to live with your regrets. So you've been tricked into believing that confidence comes after you succeed. No, confidence comes when you move without needing consensus. You don't rise when it's safe. You rise when it's necessary. And right now, it's necessary because the clock is ticking and the version of you keep postponing is getting tired of waiting. Let's be real. How many ideas have you buried because someone else didn't get it? How many times have you watered yourself down to fit into a room that wasn't built for your level of thinking? How many dreams have you deferred not because you weren't ready, but because you were scared of being seen? Listen, you're already enough. Not when you make the money, not when they notice, not when you're perfect, right now, right as you are. Enough to start, enough to grow, enough to lead. And you don't need anyone's permission slip to claim your own destiny. So stop waiting. Stop shrinking. Stop second guessing what you know you're built for. No more maybe later. No more once they support me. No more asking for acceptance in rooms where you were meant to own the table. The next level of your life begins the moment you say, I'm not waiting anymore. Because you're not here to fit in, you're here to shift things. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be legendary. You're not here to follow rules made for the average. You're here to rewrite the standard. So rise, create, speak, not with arrogance, but with authority. Because your potential doesn't need to be explained. It needs to be executed. Your environment is lying to you. If everyone around you is average, they'll treat your ambition like it's arrogance. Don't shrink to fit the room. Build a bigger one. Let me tell you something that most people don't want to hear. Your environment is lying to you. And the longer you stay in it, the more you begin to believe the lie. If you're surrounded by small thinkers, they will interpret your vision as delusion. If you're surrounded by comfort addicts, they will treat your discipline like obsession. And if you're surrounded by people who've never built anything, they will mistake your ambition for arrogance. But here's the real issue. When you hear that message long enough, you start to believe it. You start shrinking. You start playing down your potential just to keep the peace. You silence your own brilliance to avoid conflict. And slowly, quietly, you become a version of yourself that fits the room. Let me be clear. You weren't built to fit the room. You were built to redefine it. You can't grow into your future if your environment is handcuffed to the past. You can't scale your thinking if you're surrounded by people who celebrate mediocrity. And you cannot unlock your full potential in a space that's intimidated by your desire to be more. Think about this. How often do you find yourself dimming your light to make others feel comfortable in their shadows? Now, that's not humility. That's misalignment. Your environment is supposed to stretch you, not suppress you. The people around you should be calling out your greatness, not questioning your goals. And if that's not happening, you don't need to change your dream. You need to change your circle. Many people are loyal to environments that are hostile to growth. Loyal to friends who secretly resent their progress. Loyal to jobs that undervalue their ideas. Loyal to comfort zones that look like safety, but are actually cages. And here's the thing, most of these environments aren't toxic on the surface. They're subtle, polite, safe, but the danger's in the subtlety. Because when you're surrounded by average long enough, average starts to feel normal. You'll convince yourself that aiming higher is unrealistic. You'll start setting goals based on what they believe is possible. You'll start shrinking your identity to match the room instead of elevating to match your calling. That's how dreams die, not with a bang, but with a whisper that says, just be grateful for what you have. Don't get too carried away. Who do you think you are to want more? You are someone who is not afraid to outgrow your environment. Someone who is not afraid to walk alone if necessary. Someone who understands that if the room is too small for your vision, it's not your job to shrink, it's your job to build a bigger room. And you do that by expanding your mind, your network, your input, your habits. Start listening to people who challenge your thinking. Start putting yourself in spaces where excellence is the standard, not the exception. Start aligning with people who don't flinch when you talk about millions, impact, legacy, and transformation. Because you are not average, and you never were. You've just been surrounded by the wrong standard for too long. It's not arrogance to want more. It's not selfish to grow. It's necessary for your purpose, for your impact, for the people you're meant to serve. The leverage. So stop trying to be understood in rooms that were never built for your frequency. Stop seeking approval from people who gave up on their own potential. Stop waiting for permission to expand. Build a new environment, one that reflects where you're going, not where you've been. Because greatness cannot survive in soil that doesn't support growth. Your environment is either feeding your future or fighting it. It's time to choose wisely.